Welcome to Behind the Bars TV. In this episode, we're going to be delving into the story of Ivan Milat. Now, Ivan Milat is one of Australia's most infamous serial killers. Now, what I've done is put a little video together with loads of visuals, and hopefully you're enjoying the new style of video. Let us know your thoughts at the end of the video, but without further ado, let's get into it.
Police hotline. My name, Paul Onions. I'm calling from...
Onions told them the whole story of the man who had picked him up on the Hume Highway and had tried to kill him.
If horror has a human face, then its name is Ivan Robert Milat. Australia's worst serial killer was found guilty yesterday of murdering 7 backpackers.
In the 1990s, an Australian serial killer terrorised and shocked the whole nation when the bodies of 7 backpackers were discovered in the Belanglo State Forest in New South Wales. A psychopathic killer who preyed on innocent victims. His modus operandi involved luring backpackers to remote locations where he would torture and kill them. The brutal nature of his crimes and the calculated manner in which he targeted his victims sparked fear and outrage among the public and left a lasting scar on the collective consciousness. With a spate of vicious killings in the 1990s, Milat, also referred to as the backpacker murderer, terrified the nation. Here are some bone-chilling details about the infamous serial killer of his time.
But first tonight, a relative of backpacker killer Ivan Milat has been charged with murdering a teenager after the discovery of a body in the Belanglo State Forest, the infamous killing fields south of Sydney.
Ivan Milat was born on the 27th of December 1944 at Crown Street's Women's Hospital in Guildford, New South Wales. The son of Croatian immigrant and labourer Stepan Marko Stephen Milat, born in 1902 to 1983, and Margaret Elizabeth Piddles, 1920 to 2001, and Australian national. Ivan was the 5th of their 14 children and one of 10 brothers. His father worked on the wharves in Sydney while his devoted mother cared for the children. His father, a strict disciplinarian, eventually started a tomato plantation at the family property in Moorebank, Western Sydney, where his sons were put to work before relocating to Liverpool. As they grew older, the hold of their parents slipped. 7 of the 10 brothers, including Milat, have had run-ins with the police, and the Milat family became well known to the coppers. As Milat got older, he was linked to crimes of increasing severity. On the 7th of April 1971, Milat abducted 2 18-year-old female hitchhikers near Liverpool railway station with a knife. He RAPE'd one of the hitchhikers, Margaret Patterson, before they stopped at a petrol station cafe, where they managed to escape. Milat was arrested later that day and was charged with 1 count of rape and 2 counts of armed robbery. While awaiting trial, he was involved in a string of robberies with some of his brothers before faking his suicide by leaving his shoes at the Gap, a well-known Sydney suicide site. Authorities believe that Milat then fled to Queensland and Victoria before flying to New Zealand, where he lived for 2 years. He was re-arrested in 1977, but the robbery and kidnap cases against him failed at trial with the help of Milat's family lawyer, John Marsden. Milat took on a job as a truck driver in 1975. In 1977, Milat unsuccessfully attempted to rape and murder 2 women who were hitchhiking from Liverpool to Canberra. Another related to Simone Schmidl, 21, from Germany, who had been missing since leaving Sydney for Melbourne on the 20th of January 1991. Another involved in the missing British backpackers Caroline Clark and Joanne Walters, who were last seen in King's Cross on the 18th of April 1992. Police quickly confirmed via dental records that the bodies were those of Clark and Walters. Walters had been stabbed 15 times, Clark had been shot 10 times in the head at the burial site. He returned with police to the scene, where 2 bodies were quickly discovered and later identified as Gibson and Everest. On the 1st of November 1993, a skeleton was found in a clearing along a fire trail in Belanglo during a police sweep. It was later identified as that of Schmidl and bore at least 8 stab wounds. Clothing found at the scene was not Schmidl's but matched that of another missing backpacker, Habschild. The bodies of Habschild and Neusbauer were then found on a nearby fire trail on the 4th of November 1993 in shallow graves 50 metres apart. Examinations of the remains showed evidence that some of the victims had been tortured brutally. In response, on the 14th of October 1993, Task Force Air, containing more than 20 detectives and analysts, was set up by the New South Wales Police. On the 5th of November, the New South Wales government increased the reward for the killings to 500,000 Australian dollars. After developing their profile of the killer, the police faced an enormous volume of data from numerous sources. Speculation arose that the crimes were the work of several killers. On the 13th of November, police were contacted by Paul Onions in the United Kingdom.
South Wales Police Hotline. My name, Paul Onions. I'm calling from...
Onions told them the whole story of the man who had picked him up on the Hume Highway and had tried to kill him.
A few years earlier, on the 25th of July 1990, Onions had been backpacking in Australia and while hitchhiking from Liverpool Station towards Mildura, had accepted a ride south of Casula from a man known as Billy. Some of the town of Mittagong and less than 1 kilometre from Belanglo, Bill pulled out a revolver and some rope to rob Onions, at which point he managed to flee while Bill shot at him. Onions flagged down a passing motorist, Joanne Berry of Canberra, and together they described their assailant and his vehicle to the Bowral police. On the 13th of April 1994, detectives refound the note regarding Onion's call. His statement was corroborated by Berry, along with the girlfriend of a man who worked with Milat. Police surveillance of the Milat house in Cinnabar Street in Eagleville commenced on the 26th of February 1994. Police soon learned that Milat had recently sold his silver Nissan Patrol shortly after the discovery of the bodies of Clark and Walters. Police also confirmed that Milat had not been working on any of the days of the attacks, and acquaintances also told police about Milat's obsession with weapons. When the connection between the Belanglo murders and Onions' experience was made, Onions flew to Australia to help with the investigation. On the 5th of May 1994, he positively identified Milat as the man who had picked him up and attempted to shoot him. Milat was arrested at his house on the 22nd of May on robbery and weapons-related charges. The search of his house revealed various weapons that matched the type used in the murders. Also uncovered were items belonging to several of the victims. Homes belonging to Milat's mother and 5 of his brothers were also searched, uncovering several more items belonging to the victims. Milat appeared in court on the 23rd of May, but he did not enter a plea. On the 31st of May, he was additionally charged with the 7 backpacker murders. On the 28th of June, Milat sacked James Marsden, his family lawyer, and sought legal aid to pay for his defence. Meanwhile, brothers Richard and Walter were tried for weapons, drugs and stolen items found on their properties. A committal hearing for Milat regarding the murders began on the 24th of October and lasted until the 12th of December, during which over 200 witnesses appeared. Based on the evidence at the beginning of February 1995, Milat was remanded in custody until June of the same year. Milat's trial opened at the Supreme Court of New South Wales in Sydney on the 26th of March 1996 and was prosecuted by Mark Tedeschi despite the overwhelming evidence against him. Milat is reported as having been confident he would be found innocent. His defence argued that despite the evidence there was no non-circumstantial proof Milat was found guilty and attempted to shift the blame to other members of his family, particularly Richard. 145 witnesses took to the stand, including members of the Milat family. On the 18th of June, Milat gave evidence himself. On the 27th of July 1996, after 18 weeks of testimony, a jury found Milat guilty of the murders. He was given a life sentence on each count without the possibility of parole. He was also convicted of the attempted murder, false imprisonment and robbery of onions, for which he received 6 years imprisonment. On the 27th of October 2019, Milat died from esophagus and stomach cancer at 4 a.m. in the hospital wing at Long Bay Correctional Centre. Ivan Milat's case remains a haunting reminder of the depths of human depravity and the capacity for evil that exists within some individuals. But Ivan will go down in Australia's history as being one of the most depraved murderers of his time. But I'll leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you enjoyed the content, and as usual, remember to comment, like and subscribe.